Hi everyone. My name is Lennie Peterson. I'm the painter here. I thought I'd talk briefly about the condition we're talking about, of synesthesia, and then I'll talk about the process briefly. And then if we have like any questions, usually people have lots of stuff to say. So the condition, synesthesia, I didn't know I had it until, I didn't know there was a term for it until about 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm old, you know. So this has been happening to me since I was a kid. And I thought it happened, I just thought it was like a thing. I just thought, when you heard music, you see stuff, you know. And it sounds crazy, but it's just never talked about, you know. So I explained it to a fellow, I used to teach at Berkeley College, and I explained it to a fellow professor just a few years ago, and he said, oh, you have synesthesia, and I'm like, I thought I cleared that up in college. Penicillin. But it's a condition, and everybody has it. Everybody has some form of synesthesia. If you smell apple pie baking and you picture your grandmother, you have synesthesia, right? It's that. So when I hear, somebody always asks me if it's a pain in the neck, you know, it's not something that's in the way. It's something that you can kind of call up. Like when I was just listening to that beautiful performance, I kind of, you know, it comes to a realization that you're seeing shapes go by, or I'm seeing shapes go by. So it's the shape of music. And any musician can tell you that there's a shape to music. When you play a major scale, it goes up and down. We're talking up and down, we're going up and down, right? So when I listen to music, I'm hearing, I'm seeing shapes, and I'm seeing some color, but not to the extent of a Messiaen or the composer Scriabin had big time, like distracting, supposedly, according to his claims, distracting synesthesia. It was also used, once Scriabin jumped on it, back in the late 1800s probably, it started getting used as a marketing tool for composers. It became a thing, whether they had it or not. They're like, yeah, I've got that too, right? So it was kind of a selling point. So when I discovered that I do, my synesthesia comes in the form of shapes. It doesn't necessarily come in the form of colors. When I hear music, I see shapes. When I hear chords, there's chords in the Messiaen piece that just like jump out, you'll hear it. There's a big block of a chord that comes across my head. And it's almost like when you're dreaming kind of weird dreams, right? And like I say, it's not distracting, it's not something that's bothering me at all. It's just kind of a cool thing to do, to have. So the process on this is, with the painting, I, first of all, prime these canvases for any artists that are in the room. I prime these canvases with a few coats of white base paint. And then my studio is across from the ocean down in Situate, Mass, across from the beach. I leave them outside for a couple of weeks, right, which is a fun process for me to do, because what happens is that all the New England elements get into the painting. Like, if you look real close, there's like bugs and dirt. So what happens here is that, like this texture right here, it almost looks like a bowl or something. This is all natural stuff, and if you feel this canvas, you can hear it. It's texture, right? So there's sand and all kinds of crap in there. So a lot of times what I do is I go to the, well, actually every time what I do is I go to the ocean and I grab a couple scoops of sand and salt water and I throw it on there, mixes in with the paint. It's such a great texture to it. After that, once they dry and they're out for a couple weeks and the rain gets to them, the snow gets, I have pictures of like canvases covered in snow, right? So once they dry up, I take them into the studio and again, in this particular case, which was just fantastic to do, Dorothy contacted me about this concert. All these paintings were done before this concert specifically. What I did was I was thrilled that it was Messiaen. I was thrilled that Dorothy contacted me, and she said, would you mind showing a few paintings? I got carried away. So what I did was I rented a warehouse near my studio because I needed the space. My studio is not that big. It's nice, but it's not that big. So I rented a warehouse in Kingston, Mass, down in Plymouth, and I spread them all over the floor. It was probably, and I'm not exaggerating, probably about 5 times the size of this room. So I didn't need all that space, but I wanted it in Messiaen's memory. I wanted it cold, and I wanted it sort of dark and sort of Not depressing, but cold is the best word. I spread them all out. I got a surround sound. I used to work for Bose. I got a surround sound loan from Bose, and I cranked up this piece. And it was like, I was telling the quartet while they were rehearsing today, it's straight out of the movies. It's like straight out of like some, Hollywood thing. I just cranked up this piece and started painting. And it was just a fantastic experience. It took me, it was a couple of weeks. Like I had to keep coming back to the warehouse. I had other things going on in life, but it was a great experience. And it was just so great because I had the surround sound set up and just cranked up this piece. Modal harmony, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of like a fancy term for just different steps of the scale. Could you play me a C major scale? Okay, so that's a C major scale. A mode is just a different step in the scale. It's a major scale, but it starts on the next note, or it starts on a different note of the scale. So you heard that. Play that again. Thank you. You can tell she's a professional. She knows the C major scale. The Dorian mode, which one of these paintings, the Dorian mode is, where did it go? It's right out. This one. This is yellow if you can't see it through the lace. This is a Scriabin yellow. Scriabin had a yellow on it. Dorian is the next note up in the scale. It uses all the notes of the major scale, but it starts on the next note up. So that's modal harmony. That's what modes are. They're just different scales starting based on the major scale. Obviously, not all of you see this when you hear that. It depends on context. It depends on your history, right? It depends on what you ate for breakfast that morning, right? It's not like a thing where every time a middle C sounds, I see yellow. It's not that. For me, I think it was for certain composers, especially Scriabin, it was consistent. Like, there's not a psychiatrist, a psychologist who can sit me down and go, okay, here's middle C, what do you see? Or here's a note, what do you see? It's not going to be consistent. It's going to depend on context, all kinds of things that are happening in the environment. So that's my story, right? And for me, this was a great physical expression of this music. My main purpose in this was to see, for you to see what I see when I hear this music you're about to hear, which is just incredible, and sort of see it through my eyes, and try to encourage you to kind of explore what you see when you hear this music. Some people see landscapes, some people dig up memories, some people cry, some people laugh, some people see shapes, some people can taste things. I was talking to a guy at a talk I did in Portugal. This guy claims that when he hears certain notes, he can taste certain tastes. Like, that is a beautiful thing. I love that, right? And it wasn't the typical yellow is lemon. It was incredible. And this guy was consistent about it. It was really, really nice. So that's my spiel. That's my thing. Does anybody have any questions about the work? Yeah?
Do any of these correspond specifically to movements?
They don't. And that's a great question, because when I sort of listened to the movements randomly. It was such a long process. So the very first time I was in the warehouse doing this, which was like about 4 hours, I listened to the piece straight through, and then it kind of continued, had it on a loop. So I don't know which movements go with what painting. It would be interesting to find out. What this is that Messiaen on such a level of modal harmony, he created, Dorothy and I were talking about it, created his own modes.
The common one is called a whole tone scale, and this is his first one. And another one is an an octatonic scale, which is half step, whole step, half step, whole step. So that gives you a little bit of Messiaen's kind of idea of his own tonality.
If I heard a Wagner harmony, I would go to that painting. So that's the answer to that.
For example, you use the word movement.
Yeah.
I speak in movement, but actually painting.
Thank you for that. That's yeah.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is physical movement. Like that, these paintings are so big, they were on the floor flat, they weren't up, you know what I mean? This one was. You'll see, if you come up close to this, there's drippings down here. This is one of my favorites, and that one over there is one of my favorites. But these were laid on the floor, and this is the movement, you all see the Jackson Pollock movie, right? Where he's spraying paint. That was me, like just painting paint and moving with the music. So yeah. Anything else? Anybody else? Yep.
Would you say that musicians are born with synesthesia?
I would.
Like perfect pitch, or can it be developed?
I think both. I think it can be developed. I think, like I said, all of us have it. It's just you have to become aware of it. You know, and it's funny, once there's a label on it, you really become aware of it, right? So I talk to little kids about this a lot too. And, you know, they see stuff, right? When you hear music. I think it's an innate thing. I wish I could remember. The last talk I did was in Fall River, and there was one there, she was talking about the reversal, where she was in the audience and she talked about seeing these and hearing music, which is a reversible we're talking about, right? But it's still any one of your senses combined with another one of your senses. Yeah. So we all, if Thursday feels like yellow, you have synesthesia, right? We all have that feeling. Today feels like Friday, right? That kind of thing. So it's that. And I encourage people to develop that and think about it a lot, because it really makes things kind of intriguing around you. It kind of adds another level, another depth of your kind of daily life to be aware of that kind of thing. Anything else? Anybody? Good, well, I'm anxious for this. So thank you.